Every year, my children would forget to wish me a happy Mother's Day. This year, I bought a beach house for myself. When they showed up with a lawyer to try and steal it from me, they thought I was alone. They had no idea I had a witness, cameras, and a deputy from the county sheriff's office on my side. My name is Alara Boudreau. I am 69 years old, and this is the story of how my own children tried to erase me from my own life. It was Sunday, May 10th, Mother's Day. I had woken up early, as always. I brewed coffee and set the table with the embroidered tablecloth my mother had given me 40 years ago. I pulled out the good china, the pieces I only use for special occasions. I baked homemade biscuits. The smell filled the entire house. I placed fresh flowers in the center of the table, white daisies, my favorites. I waited. My phone was next to my coffee cup. I looked at it every 5 minutes. The screen stayed dark. No calls, no texts, nothing. I thought maybe they'll just show up unannounced. A surprise. That would be lovely. Simone always said she liked surprises. Marcus, too. So I waited a little longer. I prepared lunch. I made the oxtail stew they loved when they were kids, the one I made on Sundays when they came home from the park with scraped knees and red cheeks. I cut the vegetables slowly, carefully, imagining their faces when they walked through the door and caught that aroma. But the door never opened. Around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I picked up my phone and I opened social media. I don't know why I did it. Maybe because I needed to see their faces, maybe because a part of me still believed there was an explanation. That's when I saw it. Simone had posted a picture. She was at a high-end downtown spot, one of those expensive restaurants. She was wearing a new dress. She was smiling. Next to her was Marcus, also smiling, and there were other people. Friends, wine glasses, full plates. The caption read, "Perfect Sunday with the people who matter." The people who matter. I read that phrase 3 times. 4, 5, the people who matter. I wasn't in that photo. I wasn't at that restaurant. I wasn't one of the people who mattered. I looked at the table I had set, the biscuits that were now cold, the flowers starting to wilt, the stew that no one was going to eat. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, staring into the emptiness that lay between what I had hoped for and what my life actually was. But something shifted in that moment. Something small, like a tiny crack in a window pane, barely visible, but enough for everything else to start shattering. Because this wasn't the first year. Last year, they didn't call either. Simone sent a text at 11 o'clock at night. It said, "Sorry, Mama, the day got away from me. Love you." Empty words. Words that are typed in 10 seconds and forgotten in 5. The year before that was worse. They promised to come for lunch. I prepared everything. I bought special cuts of meat. I made Marcus's favorite dessert. I waited until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Then Simone called. She said something urgent had come up. She didn't specify what. She just said, "You know how it is, Mama?" And she hung up. No, I didn't know how it was, but I was starting to understand. I put the food away in the refrigerator, washed the dishes, folded the tablecloth, put the flowers in a smaller vase, all in silence, all with slow, automatic movements. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, thinking, remembering, trying to find the exact moment when I had become invisible to them. Was it when they got married, when they had their own families, when they got important jobs and big houses, or was it before that? Was it when I raised them alone after their daddy left us? When I worked 2 jobs so they could go to good schools? When I sold my jewelry to pay for Simone's college tuition? When I mortgaged the house to help Marcus open his business? Was that when I stopped mattering? The next day, Monday, my phone rang. It was Simone. "Hey, Mama," she said, with that bright, superficial voice she had perfected over the years. "How are you?" "Fine," I replied. "That's good. Listen, sorry about yesterday. It was a crazy day. We had a commitment we couldn't cancel. You know how it is." That phrase again. You know how it is. "Yes," I said. "I know." "We'll make it up to you soon, I promise. Oh, and Marcus wanted to call you too, but he's in meetings all day. He sends a kiss." "Sure," I said. We hung up. 30 seconds. That was it. 30 seconds to fulfill her obligation. To be able to tell herself she had called her mother, that she had done the right thing. I sat in the living room armchair, the same armchair where I used to rock them when they were babies, where I read them bedtime stories, where I comforted them when they had nightmares. And that's when I understood something fundamental. This wasn't neglect. This wasn't forgetfulness. This was intentional. They had deliberately, systematically, carefully erased me. I was no longer a part of their lives. I was a formality, an obligatory call, a 10-word text message, an empty apology. I was the woman who gave them life, but I was no longer necessary. And the worst part was that they probably didn't even realize what they were doing. To them, I had simply ceased to exist at the center of their worlds. I had become peripheral, background, optional. But I was still here, breathing, feeling, existing. And in that moment, sitting in that chair, with the afternoon sun streaming through the window, I made a decision. I wasn't going to disappear just because they had decided not to see me. I wasn't going to stay waiting for calls that never came. I wasn't going to keep setting tables for ghosts. I was going to do something for myself. Just for me. And that's how it all began. The memories started arriving like waves, one after another, mercilessly, relentlessly. I stayed awake that night, and the next, and the next. Because once I opened that door in my memory, I couldn't close it again. I started remembering things, small things, details that seemed insignificant at the time, but now, viewed all together, they formed a pattern, a clear and painful picture. Marcus's birthday had been in March, 2 months earlier. I had sent him a gift, an expensive shirt I saw at a downtown store. I spent almost $200, more than I could really afford, but he was my son. I wanted him to know I was thinking of him. He never thanked me. I waited a week, 2 weeks, nothing. Then I sent him a text. "Did the package arrive?" He replied 6 hours later. "Yeah, Mama, thanks, it's nice." 3 words plus a period. That was all. But what really hurt was what I discovered later. Simone had posted photos of Marcus's birthday party, a huge party at his house with balloons, cake, lots of people. I hadn't been invited. I didn't even know there would be a party. When I asked Marcus about it days later, he said, "Oh, it was a last-minute thing, Mama, just informal. We didn't want to bother you with the drive." We didn't want to bother you. As if my presence was a nuisance, as if being with my son on his birthday was an inconvenience for everyone. But I kept remembering. In February, it had been Valentine's Day. Simone posted photos of a romantic dinner with her husband, Darnell, champagne flutes, candles, red roses everywhere. She looked happy. I sent her a message that day. "Have a beautiful night." She never replied. In January, it was New Year's. I called both of them, Marcus and Simone. I wanted to wish them the best for the year ahead. I wanted to hear their voices. Neither answered. I left them messages, long messages, telling them how much I loved them, how much I wished this year would be special for them. Marcus replied with a text the next day. "Thanks, Mama. Happy New Year." Simone never replied. But what hurt the most was Christmas. Last December, just 5 months ago, we had agreed to spend Christmas together at my house, as we always had. I bought everything. The turkey, the ingredients for dinner, the gifts. I decorated the whole house. I put up the tree, the lights, everything. 3 days before Christmas, Simone called me. "Mama, we have a change of plans," she said. Her voice sounded distant, rehearsed. "We're going to spend Christmas at Marcus's in-laws' house. His mother-in-law is in delicate health, and she wants to have the whole family together. I hope you understand." "I can come if I want," she added. But the way she said it made it clear it was just a formality, an empty invitation. "But it's going to be crowded, and it's far, like a 3-hour drive from your house. I don't know if you want to make that trip." "I understand," I said. "I knew you would understand. You're the best, Mama. We'll bring you your gift later." They never brought me any gift. I spent Christmas alone. I ate a piece of turkey in front of the television. I watched old movies. I cried a little, but I told myself the next year would be different. How foolish I was. I kept digging through my memory, searching, finding. In November, it had been my birthday. 69 years old, almost 7 decades of life. Simone sent a text at 10 o'clock at night. "Happy birthday, Mama. God bless you." With a cake emoji. Marcus didn't send anything. Nothing at all. When I called him out on it 2 days later, he said, "Sorry, Mama, it slipped my mind. I've had a lot of stress at work. You know how it is." You know how it is. That phrase had become their universal excuse, the answer for everything, the shield behind which they hid. But there was more. So much more. In October, they had held a family reunion on Simone's side, a meal to celebrate. I don't know what. I saw the photos on social media. Her husband Darnell's entire family was there. Cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents, kids running around, laughter. I hadn't been invited. When I asked Simone, she said, "Oh, it was something for Darnell's family, Mama. I didn't want to make you uncomfortable by putting you in the middle of people you don't know." But Darnell's mother was there, and she didn't know everyone either, but she had been invited. I was not. In September, Marcus asked to borrow money from me, $500. He said it was an emergency, that he would pay me back in 2 weeks. I gave him the money, even though it meant I would have to tighten my belt that month, even though it meant skipping a few meals, even though it meant not buying the medication I needed. I gave it to him because he was my son. He never returned that money. And when I asked him a month later, he said, "Oh, Mama, don't pressure me, I'll pay you. Don't be like that." Don't be like that, as if I were the bad guy, as if asking him to keep his word was an attack. In August, it was Simone's daughter's birthday. My granddaughter Aaliyah was turning 7. I bought her a beautiful gift, a doll I had seen on her wish list. It cost $150, but she was my only grandchild. I went to the party with my gift wrapped in shiny paper with a big bow. I arrived early, rang the doorbell. Simone opened the door. She looked surprised, almost annoyed. "Mama," she said, "I didn't know you were coming." "What do you mean you didn't know? It's Aaliyah's birthday. I'm her grandmother." "Yes, of course, it's just, well, whatever, come in." She let me in, but she didn't greet me affectionately. She didn't hug me. She just moved aside so I could pass. The house was crowded. Kids, parents, decorations everywhere, balloons, music, a candy table. But no one spoke to me. I sat in a chair in the corner. I held my purse in my lap. I watched Aaliyah open her gifts. When she opened mine, she barely glanced at it. "Another doll," she said listlessly, and put it aside. Simone didn't even thank me. I stayed for an hour, maybe less. No one noticed when I left. All these memories, all these small exclusions, all these moments when they made me feel invisible. They weren't accidents. They weren't coincidences. It was a pattern, a clear and deliberate pattern. They had been erasing me little by little, day after day, until it reached the point where they didn't even bother to hide it. I sat in my living room, surrounded by old photographs, photos of them as children, when they needed me, when I was their entire world. At what point did everything change? At what point did I stop being Mama and become a burden? Because that's what I was now. I knew it. I felt it. I was the uncomfortable woman, the one who asked questions, the one who expected calls, the one who wanted attention. I was too much. I was always too much. And they had decided without telling me that it was easier to simply push me away, keep me at a distance, give me crumbs of affection when they felt guilty. But no more. Because that night, looking at all those pictures, I understood something fundamental. I couldn't keep living like this. I couldn't keep waiting for love from people who had decided not to give it to me. I couldn't keep begging for a place in the lives of my own children. I had to do something. I had to change my life. And I had to do it now, before I completely forgot who I was, before I disappeared entirely. The next morning, I woke up differently. I don't know how to explain it. It was as if something inside me had broken, or maybe it had been fixed. I'm not sure. I got up, made coffee, sat by the window, and for the first time in years, I didn't think of them first. I thought of me. Who was I now? I wasn't the mother they needed. That was already clear. They didn't need me. Maybe they never truly needed me. They only needed what I could give them: the money, the support, the sacrifice. But me as a person, me as a Lara, me with my dreams and my desires and my heart, that never mattered to them. And the time had come to accept it. Not with rage, not with screaming, not with drama, but with the quiet, devastating clarity of someone who finally sees the truth. My children didn't love me the way a daughter and a son should love their mother. Maybe they cared for me in some distant, convenient way. Maybe they thought of me when they needed something. Maybe they even felt guilty once in a while. But true love, love demonstrated with presence, with time, with effort, with sacrifice, that love didn't exist, and I had spent years trying to convince myself otherwise, years making excuses, years justifying, years hoping things would change. But things weren't going to change. They weren't going to change. And if I wanted to have a life worth living, I had to be the one to change. I sat looking out the window for hours, watching the cars pass, watching people walk, watching how the world kept moving, even though my heart was breaking. And then I had a thought, a small, almost insignificant thought, but it grew and grew until it filled my entire head. What if I just left? Not forever, not dramatically, just what if I built a life away from them? A life that was mine, only mine. What if I stopped waiting? The idea scared me because it meant accepting something no mother wants to accept. It meant admitting defeat. It meant letting go. But it also meant freedom. I opened my computer, that old one Marcus had given me years ago when he no longer needed it. I turned it on, waited for it to load, and searched for houses on the coast. I don't know why I thought of the beach. Maybe because I had always loved the sea. Maybe because when I was a girl, I dreamed of living near the ocean. Maybe because I needed something that was completely different from this house full of memories. I spent days looking at options. Small houses, apartments, cottages, simple but beautiful places, places where I could wake up listening to the waves, where I could walk barefoot in the sand, where I could start over. The prices were high, very high. But I had savings I had put away for years, money I had planned to leave to them when I died. But why wait to die? Why not use that money now? For me, for my happiness. The idea was almost revolutionary, almost forbidden, because my whole life had been about them, about giving to them, about sacrificing myself. But what about me? When was it my turn? I found a house, a small house, 2 bedrooms, a simple kitchen, a living room with large windows that overlooked the sea, a porch where I could sit in the evenings. It cost $180,000. It was almost all my money, almost all my life savings. But I wanted it. I wanted it with an intensity I hadn't felt in years. I called the number in the ad. A woman answered. Her name was Brenda. She had a kind, warm voice. "I want to see the house," I told her. "Of course. When can you come?" "Tomorrow." And so it was. The next day, I took a bus. I traveled 3 hours. I arrived at that coastal town I had never visited. The air smelled different, cleaner, fresher, more full of possibilities. Brenda was waiting for me in front of the house. She was a woman in her 50s, gray hair, kind eyes. She greeted me with a hug. "You must be Alara," she said. "Yes. Come on, I'll show you everything." We walked into the house, and the moment I crossed that threshold, I knew it was mine. The walls were white. The floors were light wood. The windows let in so much light, it seemed like the sun lived inside. And the sound of the sea, that constant, peaceful sound, like a heart beating. "It's perfect," I said. Brenda smiled. "I knew it. I knew you would love it." "When can I buy it?" "Are you sure?" "Completely." Brenda looked at me curiously. "May I ask you something?" "Yes." "Are you running away from something, or are you running toward something?" I was silent for a moment, thinking, feeling. "Both," I finally said. She nodded, as if she understood perfectly. "Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes we have to save ourselves." She was right. We signed the papers a week later. I transferred the money, All my money, everything I had. And the house was mine. I didn't tell Simone and Marcus anything. I didn't ask their permission. I didn't consult them. I didn't give them explanations, because I didn't owe them any. This was my decision, my life, my money. And for the first time in decades, I was doing something just for me. I started packing my things little by little: clothes, books, photos, the essentials. I was going to move in a month. I was going to leave this house, this city, this life. I was going to start over. But 3 days before the move, Brenda called me. "Alara," she said. Her voice sounded worried. "I need to tell you something important." "What's wrong?" "I was talking to a lawyer friend of mine. I told her about your purchase, about you having children, and she told me something that worried me." "What is it?" "She said you should protect that property legally, that you should make sure no one can take it from you, especially family. She said she's seen many cases where children try to take possession of their elderly parents' properties." I froze. "Why would they do that?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "For money? It's always for money? Or for control? Or because they think they're entitled? But it's my house. I bought it with my money." "I know, but sometimes that doesn't matter. Sometimes family finds ways to, well, complicate things. What should I do?" "Come see my friend. Her name is Chloe. She's very good. She can help you protect yourself." The next day I went to see Chloe. Her office was small but tidy. She was a young woman, maybe 35, but she had a serious professional look. I told her everything about the house, about my children, about how they had treated me. She listened in silence, taking notes, nodding occasionally. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. "Alara," she said, "I'm going to be very honest with you. What you describe sounds like the beginning of a pattern of financial exploitation of the elderly. I'm not saying your children will definitely try anything, but the signs are there. The emotional distance, the requests for money, the lack of respect, all of that can escalate. What can I do?" "First, you need to document everything, every conversation, every message, every interaction. Second, you need to legally protect this property. We are going to set up a trust. We are going to install security cameras in the house and make sure that if anyone tries anything, we have evidence." "Do you really think all that is necessary?" Chloe looked me straight in the eye. "I hope not. I hope your children simply let you live in peace. But if I've learned anything in this job, it's that it's better to be prepared, because when things get ugly, they get very ugly very fast." So I did everything she told me. I installed cameras, hired a lawyer, saved every message, every call, and I waited. Because something told me this wasn't over. Something told me that when Simone and Marcus found out about the house, everything was going to explode, and I was right. I moved into the beach house in June, a Tuesday morning. The moving truck arrived early. 2 men loaded my few belongings, boxes of clothes, some furniture, photographs I couldn't leave behind, even though they hurt to look at. I closed the door to my old house for the last time, the house where I raised my children, the house full of memories, some good, most now tinged with sadness. I didn't look back. The trip was long but peaceful. I arrived mid-afternoon. The sun was high, the sea was glittering, and when I stepped out of the car in front of my new house, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: peace. The first few days were spent adjusting, unpacking, settling in, meeting the neighbors, walking on the beach, getting used to the constant sound of the waves. I didn't tell Simone or Marcus that I had moved. I simply stopped answering their occasional calls with the same urgency. I stopped being available all the time. I stopped being the mother who waited by the phone. 2 weeks passed, 3, a month. Neither of them asked where I was. Neither noticed my absence, or if they did, they didn't care enough to investigate. And that confirmed everything I already knew. But then, one Saturday morning, everything changed. I was watering the plants on the porch when my phone rang. It was Simone. "Mama," she said. Her voice sounded strange, too sweet, too interested. "How have you been? We haven't talked in a while." "Fine," I said cautiously. "That's good. Listen, Marcus and I want to come visit you. We haven't seen you in ages. How about this weekend?" It was so unexpected that I was speechless. Visit me? After months of indifference? After years of making me feel invisible? "Why the sudden interest?" I asked. "What do you mean? We're your family. We miss you. We want to see you." There was something false in her tone, something rehearsed. "How did you know where I am?" There was a brief pause, too brief, as if she had been anticipating that question. "We went to your house, the old house, and the neighbors told us you had moved. They gave us your new address." A lie. I hadn't left my address with the neighbors. "I see," I said. "So can we come tomorrow? Maybe we'll bring lunch. We can spend the day together." Something in my stomach twisted. An alarm. A warning. "Let me think about it," I said. "I'll call you back later." I hung up before she could insist. I stood there with the phone in my hand, my heart beating fast. How had they found my address? And why this sudden interest? I called Chloe immediately. "Something is happening," I told her. I told her about Simone's call. "Have you mentioned the house to them?" she asked. "No, to no one. Only you and Brenda know." "Then someone else told them, or they found out on their own." "Alara, I don't like this. I don't like it at all. What do you think they want?" "I don't know, but I suggest you turn on all the cameras and that you don't let them into the house alone. Do you have someone who can stay with you?" "I can ask Brenda." "Do it, and keep me informed of everything." I called Brenda. I explained the situation. She didn't hesitate for a second. "I'm on my way right now," she said, "and I'll stay all weekend if necessary." She arrived that same afternoon with a small suitcase and a determination in her eyes that made me feel less alone. "I don't know if I'm overreacting," I told her. "You're not overreacting. Trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is." The next day, Sunday, Simone called again. "Mama, we're coming over. We're leaving in an hour. Do you need us to bring anything?" "Simone, I don't think it's a good idea for you to come today." "Why not? I told you we want to see you. I'm busy." "Busy with what?" "Come on, Mama, don't be difficult." And then she said it, the phrase that confirmed everything. "Besides, we want to see your new house. They say it's beautiful, right on the ocean. It must have cost a fortune." There it was. They weren't coming to see me. They were coming to see the house. "Who told you that?" I asked. "It doesn't matter. The point is we're excited to see it. Marcus is coming too, and his wife. We're going to have a family day." "No," I said firmly. "Don't come today." "Mama, don't be difficult. We're already on our way." And she hung up. I looked at Brenda. She had heard the entire conversation. "They're coming anyway," she said. "Yes? Then we prepare." We turned on all the cameras, the ones at the entrance, on the porch, in the living room, in the yard. Chloe arrived half an hour later. She had called saying she would come, that she wanted to be present. "If this is going where I think it is," she said, "I need to see it with my own eyes, and I need it to be recorded." The three of us sat in the living room, waiting. 2 hours later, exactly as Simone had said, they arrived. A big, black, expensive SUV parked in front of my house. Simone and Marcus got out, but they weren't alone. With them was a man I didn't know, gray suit, briefcase in hand, serious face, and behind him, Marcus's wife, a woman who had always treated me with disdain. "Who is that man?" I asked Chloe. She narrowed her eyes. "If I had to guess, I'd say he's a lawyer." My heart stopped. They knocked on the door, loudly, insistently. Brenda took my hand. "Breathe. You are not alone." I opened the door. Simone walked in first without waiting for an invitation, looking at everything, evaluating, calculating. "Mama," she said, but she didn't hug me. She didn't even look at me. Her eyes were fixed on the house, on the windows, on the ocean view. Marcus walked in next. He also didn't greet me warmly, just a quick peck on the cheek, cold, mechanical. And then the man in the suit entered. "Mrs. Boudreau," he said, extending his hand. "My name is Leonard Vance. I'm an attorney. I represent your children." There was the confirmation. They hadn't come to visit me. They had come to take my house. Chloe stood up. I'm Chloe Dubois, attorney for Mrs. Boudreau, and I would like to know exactly what you are doing here. Simone's face changed. Surprise, confusion, anger. A lawyer? Why do you need a lawyer, Mama? That's an excellent question, Simone, Chloe said. Why would your mother need a lawyer? Is there something she needs protection from? Leonard cleared his throat. Mrs. Boudreau, we are here on behalf of your children, because they are concerned about your well-being. They have informed us that you recently made a significant purchase, a purchase that used up all your savings, and they are worried that you may not be in a condition to make those types of decisions. I'm not in a condition? I repeated. My voice sounded strange, distant. What my client means, Marcus interjected, is that we are worried someone took advantage of you, Mama, that someone convinced you to buy this house, that you were manipulated. Manipulated? I said. Yes, Simone added. Look, Mama, we understand you're mad at us. Maybe we haven't been the best kids lately. We admit it. But this is too much. Spending all your money on a house you don't need, distancing yourself from your family. This isn't normal. Brenda stepped forward. I'm Brenda Wallace. I sold this house to Mrs. Boudreau, and I can assure you no one manipulated her. She came of her own free will, with her own money, and she made her own decision. And who are you to her? Simone attacked. A salesperson? A stranger? And now you're here defending her against her own family? I'm here, Brenda said calmly, because your mother asked me to be here. Because apparently she knew you would come, and she knew she would need support. This is ridiculous, Marcus said. Mama, tell these people to leave. We need to talk as a family. No, I said. My voice came out louder than I expected. They stay, and you are going to tell me exactly what you are doing here now. Leonard opened his briefcase. He pulled out some documents. Mrs. Boudreau, your children have prepared these documents. They are to protect you, to ensure your assets are safe. They would essentially transfer the ownership of this house to a trust administered by your children. That way, you could continue living here, but they would ensure no one takes advantage of you. A trust administered by them, Chloe said. Her voice was cold as ice. You mean they are asking you to give them your house? Isn't that right? It's for her own good, Simone said. My own good? I said, and for the first time in my life, I looked at my children with absolute clarity. Where were you on Mother's Day? Where were you on my birthday? Where were you when I needed you? Mama, don't start, Marcus said. Where were you? I repeated. No one answered. I'll tell you, you weren't here. You were never here, but now that you have something you want, here you are, with a lawyer, with papers, trying to take the only thing that is mine. That's not how it is, Mama, Simone insisted, but her voice no longer sounded convincing. I looked at those papers in Leonard's hand. I looked at my children. I looked at their faces, and I knew that everything Chloe had predicted was true. They had come to steal from me. Chloe snatched the documents from Leonard's hands before he could react. She quickly skimmed them. Her eyes moved swiftly over the pages. Her expression hardened with every paragraph. This is unbelievable, she finally said. Absolutely unbelievable. What's wrong? I asked. These documents are not to protect you, Alara. They are to dispossess you. If you signed this, you would lose all rights to this property. Your children would have total control. They could sell it whenever they wanted. They could evict you whenever they wanted, and you couldn't do absolutely anything. That's not true, Leonard snapped. The trust clearly stipulates that Mrs. Boudreau can live here until her death. Yes, as long as they allow it, Chloe countered. But it also stipulates that they can make any decision about the property without her consent, including selling it if they deem it necessary for her medical care, which is a clause so broad that it essentially gives them carte blanche to do whatever they want. You're misinterpreting, Simone said. Her voice was rising. This is all to protect Mama. From whom? Brenda asked. From you, Simone spat. Strangers who show up out of nowhere and suddenly act like better children than us. I don't pretend to be your daughter, Brenda said calmly. I'm just someone who treats your mother with respect, something you clearly never learned to do. Marcus stood up. We're not going to stay here and be insulted. No one is insulting you, I said. They are just telling the truth. The truth? You want the truth, Mama? Marcus took a step toward me. The truth is, you've always been difficult, always demanding attention, always making us feel guilty. It was never enough for you. We were never enough. I was the difficult one? My voice trembled. I, who worked 2 jobs to give you an education? I, who sold my things to pay for your whims? I, who never denied you anything? I was the difficult one? Always with the same thing, Simone said. Always reminding us of everything you did, as if we owe you our whole lives. I don't need to remind you of anything. You know it. You simply chose to forget. This is going nowhere, Leonard interrupted. Mrs. Boudreau, my clients are willing to be generous. If you sign these documents today, they commit to visiting you once a month, calling you every week, and including you in family celebrations. I stared at him, incredulous. You are bribing me with affection, I said. You are offering me crumbs of attention in exchange for my house. It's not a bribe, Simone said. It's a commitment. We all win. You have your house. We make sure you're protected, and we rebuild our relationship. What relationship? I asked. We don't have a relationship. You erased me from your lives years ago. That's not true, Marcus said, but he sounded weak, unconvincing. Isn't it? When was the last time you came to visit me? When was the last time you called just to see how I was doing? When was the last time you included me in something without me having to ask? Silence. Exactly, I said. Chloe stepped closer to me. She spoke in a low voice. Alara, I need you to tell me something. Do you have all the conversations saved, the messages, the calls? Yes, I said. Everything, just as you instructed me. Good, because we're going to need them. She turned back to Leonard. Your proposal is unacceptable, and I suggest you review the state's statutes on financial exploitation of the elderly, because what they are attempting to do here falls perfectly within that definition. We are not exploiting anyone, Leonard said. But for the first time, he sounded unsure. No? Then explain to me why your clients show up unannounced with legal documents already prepared, pressuring a 69-year-old woman to give up control of her property. Explain to me why they didn't consult with her first, why they didn't respect her decision to buy this house with her own money. Because we're worried, Simone insisted. Is that so hard to understand? We are her family. We have the right to be worried. The problem, Brenda said, is that you were never worried before. Only now. Only when money is involved. You don't know anything about our family, Simone yelled at her. I know enough. I know your mother spent Mother's Day alone. I know she spent Christmas alone. I know you never visited her, never called her. And now suddenly you're the most concerned children of the year. You know what I think? I think you saw an opportunity. A house right on the ocean. $180,000. And you decided that money should be yours. $180,000? Marcus repeated. His eyes widened. You paid $180,000 for this house? There was the final confirmation. They didn't know exactly how much it cost. They just knew it was valuable. That was all your money, Marcus continued. All your savings, and you spent it on this without consulting us. Why would I have to consult you? I asked. It's my money. That money was our inheritance, Simone said. And finally, she said it. She finally admitted what they really wanted. Your inheritance, I repeated slowly. Money that I am not yet dead to give you. Money that I earned, that I saved, and you believe you are entitled to it. You always said you'd leave it to us, Marcus said. You always said that when you died, everything would be ours. Yes, when I died. Not now. While I am still alive and need that money to live my life. Your life? Simone scoffed. What life? You're an old woman, alone. What do you need a beach house for? To be happy, I said simply. To have a place where I don't feel invisible. Where I don't have to beg for attention. Where I can simply exist without feeling like I am too much. This is a mistake, Leonard said. Mrs. Boudreau, Your children are right to be concerned. Such a large purchase at your age, without consulting anyone, could be a sign of cognitive decline. Cognitive decline? Chloe said. Her voice was dangerous. Are you telling me that a perfectly lucid woman who made a sound financial decision, who consulted with lawyers, who did her due diligence, has cognitive decline simply because her children disagree with her decision? That's not what I said. It is exactly what you said. And I warn you that if you continue down that path, I will file a formal complaint with the state bar. What they are doing here is harassment. It is manipulation, and I will not allow it to continue. Chloe is right, I said, finding my voice, my strength. I want all of you to leave now. Mama, we can't leave like this, Marcus said. We need to resolve this. There is nothing to resolve. This is my house. I bought it with my money, and I will never sign any document. You'll regret this, Simone said. Her mask had finally fallen. There was no more sweetness. There was no more feigned concern. There was only rage. You're going to end up alone. Completely alone. And when you need us, we won't be there. You know what? I said. I was already alone. I've been alone for years. You're just making it official. This isn't going to end here, Marcus threatened. Is that a threat? Chloe asked. Because I hope you know that this entire conversation is being recorded. Every word, every threat recorded. Simone looked around. She saw the cameras. Her face went pale. You were recording us? Yes, I said. Everything has been recorded since you arrived. This is illegal, Leonard exclaimed. Actually, it's not, Chloe corrected. This is private property. Mrs. Boudreau has every right to record what happens in her own home. And believe me, this video is going to be very useful if you decide to pursue any further legal action. Leonard closed his briefcase. This isn't over. Oh, yes, it is over, I said. Now all of you leave, and don't come back unless you are willing to treat me with respect, with real love, not this farce. Simone looked at me with pure hatred. You are selfish. You always were. Everything was always about you, never about us. It's funny you say that, I replied, because I spent my whole life making everything about you. But the first time I do something for myself, I'm selfish. You know what? Maybe I am, and maybe I should have been a long time ago. Marcus took Simone by the arm. Let's go. This is a waste of time. Go, I repeated, and don't come back. The three of them left. Leonard first, then Marcus, then Simone. She paused at the door. She looked at me one last time. You're going to die alone, she said. Better alone than surrounded by people who only want me for my money, I replied. The door closed behind them. I heard the car start, drive away, and then I finally broke down. Brenda held me while I cried. I cried for everything, for the lost years, for the love I never received, for the betrayal, for the devastating clarity of finally seeing my children for who they really were. But I also cried with relief, because it was finally over. I had finally spoken the truth. I had finally defended myself. You did so well, Brenda whispered to me. You were so brave. I don't feel brave, I said. I feel destroyed. That's normal. But it will pass, and you will be better, I promise. Chloe was reviewing the recordings on her computer. She connected the cameras and downloaded all the videos. This is gold, she said. We have everything documented, the threats, the admissions, the manipulation. If they try anything legally, this destroys them. Do you think they'll try? I asked. Honestly, I don't know. It depends on how desperate they are, but now we have something they didn't expect. Evidence, and that gives us power. They stayed with me that night, both of them. Brenda slept on the sofa, Chloe in the guest room, and I, for the first time in weeks, slept deeply. The next day, Monday morning, Chloe came back early. We need to be proactive, she said. We can't just wait to see what they do. We have to get ahead of them. What do you suggest? First, we are going to strengthen the legal protection of this property. I'm going to create documents that unequivocally demonstrate that you are in full use of your mental faculties. We'll get medical evaluations. We'll get witnesses to testify about your competence. Is all that really necessary? Yes, because if they decide to go the route of mental incapacitation, we need to have overwhelming proof. We cannot leave any loose ends. For the next 2 weeks, I did exactly what Chloe instructed. I went to see a doctor, Dr. Wesley King, a geriatrician with 30 years of experience. He performed exams, cognitive tests, memory assessments, everything. "Mrs. Boudreau," he told me after reviewing the results, "you are perfectly fine. Your mind is sharp. Your memory is excellent. There are absolutely no signs of cognitive decline. In fact, you're doing better than many people 20 years younger." He gave me a detailed report, an official document certifying my mental competence. I also visited a psychologist, Dr. Alana Jones. I told her everything about my children, about the abandonment, about the betrayal. She listened, took notes, and in the end, she told me something I will never forget. "Ilara, what you have done requires immense strength. Many people in your situation simply give up. They accept the mistreatment. They normalize the neglect. But you said, 'Enough.' You chose your own happiness over their approval. That's not selfishness. That's self-preservation. That's mental health." She also gave me a report certifying that I was emotionally stable, that my decision to buy the house was not the product of depression or impulse, but a conscious and healthy choice. Chloe collected everything: the medical reports, the videos, the text messages, the call logs, everything. "Now we have a solid case," she said. "If they try anything, we are more than prepared." But days passed, and nothing happened. Then weeks. No call, no message, no lawyer knocking on my door. Absolute silence. And that silence confirmed everything I already knew. They didn't miss me. They weren't worried. They were just waiting, planning their next move. "Don't trust the calm," Brenda warned me. "People like them don't give up that easily." She was right. A month after their visit, a certified letter arrived from Leonard Vance's law firm. I opened it with trembling hands. I read it once, twice, 3 times. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. They were suing me. Simone and Marcus were suing me for mental incapacity. They were asking a judge to declare me incompetent and appoint a legal guardian, and they, of course, were offering themselves as guardians. If they won, they would have total control of my life, my money, my house, everything. I called Chloe immediately. "I already knew," she said. "I received the notification this morning, and I am already preparing the defense." "How can they do this? How can they lie like that?" "Because they are desperate, and because they probably think they are going to win. They think you're just an old woman with no resources, no defense, no one to support her. But we have a chance, Ilara. Not only do we have a chance, we are going to win. And when we win, they are going to be exposed, they are going to be ridiculed, and they are going to have to pay the court costs. When is the hearing?" "In 6 weeks, which gives us plenty of time to prepare." During those 6 weeks, I worked harder than I had worked in years. Chloe trained me. She made me practice what I would say at the hearing, how I would behave, what clothes I would wear. "You have to look competent," she told me. "Lucid, confident. You can't hesitate, you can't cry, you can't show weakness." I practiced in front of the mirror again and again, memorizing the answers, controlling my emotions. Brenda helped me prepare emotionally. She reminded me why I was doing this. She reminded me that I had the right to live my life, that I didn't owe anyone anything. "They are going to try to make you feel guilty," she would say. "They're going to say you're a bad mother, that you abandoned your family, but you know the truth, and that truth is your power." We also got witnesses. The neighbors from my old house, who could testify about how Simone and Marcus never visited me, how they left me alone for days, weeks, months. The owner of the local hardware store where I shopped, who had known me for years, who could testify about my lucidity, my independence. Dr. Alana and Dr. Wesley, both willing to testify. And Brenda, who could tell how I behaved during the house purchase, how I asked about everything, how I evaluated every detail, how I made an informed and responsible decision. "We are going to prove," Chloe said, "that you are not only competent, but that you are more competent than most of the people who will be in that courtroom." A week before the hearing, I received a call. It was Marcus. "Mama," he said. His voice sounded tired, defeated. "We can settle this. It doesn't have to go to court. What do you want, Marcus?" "Cancel the house purchase, give it back, and we'll withdraw the lawsuit. Everything goes back to normal." "Normal? What normal? The normal where you ignore me, where you treat me like I don't exist?" "We can change, I promise. We'll visit you more. We'll call you more. Just give back the house. No, Mama, please. This is getting out of control. It's going to hit the papers. It's going to be public. Do you want that? Do you want everyone to know your family is fighting?" "I don't care what people think anymore. You are going to lose. Our lawyer says we have a solid case. Then I'll see you in court." "Mama!" I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I also felt something else. Something I hadn't felt in a long time. Power. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake thinking about everything that could happen, all the ways it could go wrong, but I also thought about all the reasons why I had to win, not just for the house, not just for the money, but for my dignity, for my right to exist, for my right to be seen, valued, respected. At 6 o'clock in the morning, I got up, I showered. I dressed carefully, a simple but elegant suit, light gray, nothing flashy, nothing that looked like I was trying too hard. Chloe arrived at 7. "Ready?" she asked. "Ready," I said. Brenda came with us for moral support, to remind me that I wasn't alone. The trip to the courthouse was silent, each of us lost in our own thoughts. We arrived early. The courtroom was still empty. We sat on the front benches. At 8:30 they arrived. Simone, Marcus, Leonard, and 2 other people I didn't know, probably their own witnesses. Simone looked at me. I looked back at her without blinking, without looking away. I was no longer afraid of her. I no longer felt small in front of her. She was my daughter, but she was also my adversary, and I was ready to fight. The judge entered at 9 o'clock sharp. "Case number 2847, the clerk announced. Simone Boudreau and Marcus Boudreau versus Alara Boudreau. Petition for declaration of mental incapacity." The judge was an older man, about 60, serious face, tired eyes. "Very well," he said. "Let's hear from the petitioners first." Leonard stood up, walked to the center of the room, adjusted his suit, cleared his throat, and began to speak with that rehearsed lawyer's voice he had perfected over the years. "Your Honor, we are here today because 2 concerned children fear for the well-being of their mother, Alara Boudreau, age 69. Mrs. Boudreau recently made an alarming financial decision. She spent all of her life savings, $180,000, on a property she does not need, a house on the coast, far from her family, far from her support network. This impulsive and uncharacteristic decision raises serious concerns about her ability to make responsible financial decisions." I bit my tongue. Chloe had warned me, do not react. Do not show emotion. Let them talk. "Furthermore," Leonard continued, "Mrs. Boudreau has cut off communication with her family. She has isolated herself. She has refused help. She has hired lawyers and installed security cameras as if her own family were a threat. This paranoid behavior is another sign of mental decline." Paranoid. He called me paranoid for protecting myself from them. "My clients do not seek to control their mother. They only want to ensure she is safe, that she is not exploited, that her last years are dignified and protected. That is why we request that the court appoint a legal guardian, someone who can oversee her finances, someone who can make decisions in her best interest." He sat down, satisfied with himself. The judge looked at his papers. "Do you have witnesses?" "Yes, Your Honor. We call Simone Boudreau." Simone stood up, walked to the stand, swore to tell the truth, sat down, and began her performance. "My mother was always a strong woman," she said. Her voice trembled perfectly, as if she were holding back tears. "She raised us alone. She worked hard. She gave us everything. But in recent years, I've noticed changes. She has become forgetful, confused. Sometimes she calls and repeats the same stories. Sometimes she forgets we've already spoken." A lie. A pure lie. And then suddenly, without telling anyone, she buys this house. An expensive house in a place she had never visited, without consulting, without thinking about the consequences. When we found out, we tried to talk to her, but she became defensive, aggressive. She accused us of horrible things. She said we didn't love her, that we had abandoned her. None of that is true. We are just worried. "How often did you visit your mother before this purchase?" the judge asked. Simone hesitated. Just a second, but it was enough. "Well, not as often as we would have liked. We both work. We have our own families. But we called. We always called." "How often?" "Once or twice a month." Another lie. Chloe knew it. I knew it. And soon the judge would too. Leonard asked more questions. Simone replied with more lies. They painted me as a fragile, confused woman, easily manipulated. Then they called Marcus. He was more direct, less emotional. "My mother changed," he said. "She's not the same. She used to be reasonable. Now she's stubborn, irrational. She became obsessed with this idea that we don't love her, that we abandoned her, but it's not true. We have always been there for her." "Were you present on Mother's Day this year?" the judge asked. Marcus tensed. "No. We had a prior commitment. And the year before that? We also had commitments. Did you call her that day?" Silence. "Mr. Boudreau, I asked if you called your mother on Mother's Day." "I sent a text," he finally said, "in the evening." The judge wrote something in his notes. After Marcus, Leonard tried to call a psychiatrist, someone who had never met me, but who had reviewed the case and believed it showed signs of decline. Chloe objected immediately. "Your Honor, this witness has never evaluated my client. He has never spoken to her. His opinion is based solely on information provided by the petitioners. It is completely inadmissible." The judge agreed. The psychiatrist could not testify. Leonard looked frustrated. "That's all, Your Honor. We rest our case." The judge turned to Chloe. "The defense wishes to present its case?" "Yes, Your Honor." Chloe stood up, and in that moment, everything changed. "Your Honor, what we are witnessing here is not the case of a mother with mental decline. It is the case of two adult children attempting to rob their mother. It's that simple, and I'm going to prove it." She walked to the center of the room, took out a remote control, and projected the first video onto the screen. It was from Mother's Day. The table I had set, empty, the phone silent, and then the screenshots from Simone's social media. The photos of the restaurant, the caption, "Perfect Sunday with the people who matter." "This," Chloe said, "is Mother's Day this year. Mrs. Boudreau prepared a meal. She waited for her children. They never arrived. They never called. And instead, they were celebrating with other people. The people who matter." Her words, not mine. Simone sank in her chair. Chloe showed more evidence, text messages, call dates, everything documented. "In the last 12 months, Chloe said, Simone Boudreau called her mother exactly 4 times. Marcus Boudreau, 3 times. Neither visited her a single time, except when they discovered she had purchased a valuable property. Then suddenly, they showed up with a lawyer, with legal documents already prepared, demanding she relinquish control." She showed the video of that day. The entire confrontation, every word, every threat. The judge watched the screen intently. His expression hardened with every minute. When the video ended, Chloe spoke again. "Your Honor, I would now like to call my first witness, Elara Boudreau." I stood up. My legs were shaking, but I walked firmly to the stand. I swore to tell the truth. I sat down and took a deep breath. Chloe approached. She gave me a small, comforting smile. "Mrs. Boudreau, can you tell us why you decided to buy the beach house?" "Because I needed a place where I didn't feel invisible," I said. My voice came out clearer than I expected. "I spent years waiting for my children to see me, to include me, to love me, but they never did. And I realized that if I wanted to have a life worth living, I had to build it myself." "Did anyone pressure you into making this purchase?" "No. It was completely my decision. I researched for weeks. I consulted with the seller, with you, with my bank. I made an informed and responsible decision. At any point, did you feel confusion or uncertainty about what you were doing? Never. I was completely sure. Can you tell us what happened when your children discovered the purchase? And then I told everything, calmly, clearly, without tears. I told about Simone's call, about how they showed up unannounced, about the documents they brought, about the threats, everything. Leonard tried to discredit me. He tried to make me trip up, to make me angry. Mrs. Boudreau, isn't it true that you have memory problems? No, I forget normal things that everyone forgets. Where I left my keys, if I turned off the stove, but I don't forget important conversations. I don't forget commitments. I don't forget my children. Isn't it true that you are resentful of your children? I am not resentful. I am hurt. There is a difference. Resentment is bitter. Hurt is honest. Don't you think your children have a right to be worried? They would have the right if they were genuinely worried, but they are not. They are worried about the money, not about me. Chloe then called Dr. Wesley King. He testified about my evaluations, about my perfect mental health, about my complete lucidity. In my professional opinion, he said, Mrs. Boudreau is in full possession of her faculties. There are absolutely no signs of cognitive decline. In fact, her mental clarity is remarkable. Then Dr. Alana Jones testified. She spoke about my emotional health, about my strength, about my ability to make difficult but necessary decisions. What Alara did requires exceptional mental health, she said. Many people in her situation stay trapped in toxic relationships because they don't have the courage to leave. She did. That's not madness. That's bravery. Brenda testified next. She recounted the purchase process, how I asked about everything, how I evaluated every detail, how my behavior was completely normal and responsible. And finally, Chloe presented more evidence. Text messages from Marcus asking me to borrow money. $500 he never returned, broken promises, canceled visits, everything documented. Your Honor, Chloe said at the end, what we have here is not an incompetent mother. It is a mother who finally said, enough, who finally put herself first. And her children cannot stand it, not because they are worried about her, but because they are worried about their inheritance. They are worried that the money they thought was theirs is no longer available. So they invented this story of mental incapacity. But as we have proven today, it is exactly that, a story, a lie, and an attempted financial exploitation of an elderly adult. She sat down. The judge reviewed his notes for what seemed like an eternity. The courtroom was in absolute silence. Only the ticking of the clock on the wall could be heard. Finally, he looked up. I have heard enough, he said. And I have seen enough. My decision is as follows. My heart was beating so hard I thought everyone could hear it. The petition for a declaration of mental incapacity is completely denied. Mrs. Alara Boudreau is clearly in full use of her mental faculties. She made an informed and responsible financial decision, and she has every right to live her life as she chooses. I felt the air return to my lungs. Furthermore, the judge continued, I find that this lawsuit was frivolous and motivated by financial interests. The petitioners will pay all court costs, and I warn Mr. Simone and Mr. Marcus Boudreau that any future attempt to harass or manipulate their mother will be treated with the maximum severity of the law. He struck the gavel. Case closed. Chloe hugged me. Brenda cried, and I just stood there paralyzed, processing. I had won. I looked over to where Simone and Marcus were. Simone had tears in her eyes, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of rage, of humiliation. Marcus wasn't looking at me. His gaze was fixed on the floor. Leonard was quickly packing his papers, clearly wanting to get out of there as fast as possible. And then Simone looked at me one last time. She didn't say anything, but her look said it all. This wasn't over for her. Not in her mind, not in her heart. But for me, it was over, because I had finally won something more important than the lawsuit. I had won my freedom. I walked out of the courthouse with my head held high. The afternoon sun blinded me for a moment, but it was a bright sun, warm, full of promises. Chloe walked beside me, Brenda on the other side, both smiling, both proud. "You did perfectly," Chloe told me. "It couldn't have gone better." "Thank you," I replied. "Without you, I wouldn't have known what to do." "Thank you," she corrected, "for having the courage to defend yourself, for not giving up, for believing you deserved something better." We stopped on the sidewalk. Traffic passed, people walked. The world kept turning, but I felt different, lighter, as if I had left a lifetime of weight in that courtroom. "What will you do now?" Brenda asked. "Live," I said. Simply live." That night, back in my house by the sea, I sat on the porch. I listened to the waves. I watched the stars. And for the first time in years, I felt true peace. It wasn't the peace of resignation. It wasn't the peace of denial. It was the peace of someone who had finally fought and won, the peace of someone who had defended herself and survived. The following days were strange. I expected to feel sadness, guilt, regret, but none of that came. Only a deep calm, a quiet certainty that I had done the right thing. I received no calls from Simone or Marcus, no messages, no attempt at reconciliation. And I wasn't surprised because it had never been about me. It had been about the money, the inheritance, the control. And now that they had lost, there was no point in pretending anymore. A week after the hearing, I was watering the plants when I saw a woman walking on the beach. She was older, maybe my age. She wore a big hat and walked slowly, carefully. She stopped in front of my house. She looked at me and smiled. "Excuse me," she said. "Are you Mrs. Boudreau?" "Yes," I replied cautiously. "I read about you in the paper, about the lawsuit. I hope you don't mind me mentioning it." My heart quickened. I didn't know anything had been published about the case. "It was just a small note in the local section," she said. "But it struck me because I have children too, and I've also felt what you felt." She moved a little closer. I could see her eyes. They were full of understanding, of shared pain. "My name is Ruth," she said. "Ruth Peterson. And I just wanted to tell you that I greatly admire what you did. I admire your courage." "Thank you," I said. My voice sounded softer than I expected. "Can I ask you something?" "Yes." "How did you know it was time? How did you know you had to walk away?" I was silent for a moment, thinking, remembering. I think I knew when I realized I was waiting for love from people who had decided not to give it to me. And I could spend the rest of my life waiting, or I could start living. And I chose to live. Ruth nodded slowly. Tears glistened in her eyes. "I'm still waiting," she said quietly. "I'm still waiting for my children to see me, to value me, but every day it gets harder." "Then maybe it's time for you to stop waiting," I told her gently. "Maybe it's time for you to choose yourself." She smiled through her tears. "Maybe you're right. Would you like to have a coffee?" I offered. "Right here on the porch looking at the ocean?" "I would love to." 2 years have passed since that hearing. 2 years since I said, "Enough." 2 years since I decided that my life belonged only to me. The house by the sea continues to be my sanctuary. Every morning I wake up to the sound of the waves. Every afternoon I watch the sunset from my porch. And every night I sleep in peace. A peace I didn't know before. A peace I didn't know was possible. Simone and Marcus never looked for me again. Not a call, not a message, not even on my birthday or at Christmas. And that's okay. It really is okay. Because I understood something fundamental during these 2 years. I can't force anyone to love me. I can't beg for a place in anyone's heart, not even my own children's. True love isn't pleaded for. It isn't negotiated. It isn't bought with sacrifices or silence or by accepting crumbs. True love simply is, or it is not. And with Simone and Marcus, it simply was not. But I found love in other places. In Brenda, who became the sister I never had. In Ruth, who finally also had the courage to walk away from children who only sought her out when they needed something. In Mr. Percy, who passed away 6 months ago and left me Captain, his dog, in his will, because he knew I would care for him with the same love he had. Aaliyah writes to me every couple of months, hidden letters she sends without her mother knowing. She tells me about school, about her dreams, about how she wants to be strong like me when she grows up. And I write back to her. I tell her about the sea, about the importance of choosing oneself, about how true love never makes you feel small. Someday she will come, when she is older, when she can make her own decisions. And I will be here waiting for her, not with resentment toward her parents, not with bitterness, but with open arms and a heart full of a love she never had to earn, a love that was always hers. I have learned that family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the people who show up in your life exactly when you need them most, the people who see you, who value you, who choose to stay. I have learned that it's okay to set boundaries, that it's okay to say no, that it's okay to walk away from people who hurt you, even if they share your last name. I have learned that it is never too late to start over, that at 69 you can build a completely new life, a life that has meaning, a life that is yours. And I have learned that forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. I can forgive Simone and Marcus for what they did to me and still choose not to have them in my life. I can wish them the best from afar. I can let go of the pain without letting go of the boundaries. This morning I walked on the beach. The sun was just rising. The sky was orange and pink, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Gratitude. Deep, true gratitude. Gratitude for having the courage to leave. Gratitude for finding this house. Gratitude for the people who showed up exactly when I needed them. Gratitude for being alive, for being free, for being me. Sometimes people ask me if I regret it, if I miss my children, if I wish things had been different. And the answer is complex. Yes, I miss the children they were. I miss the babies I rocked, the little ones who called me mama with voices full of love. But I don't miss the adults they became. I don't miss the pain. I don't miss the invisibility. I don't miss feeling like a burden in their lives. Do I wish things had been different? Of course I do. I wish I had had children who truly loved me, who valued me, who chose me. But I didn't. And I had to accept that and move on. And now, looking back, I can say with all honesty that I made the right decision. That saving myself was the bravest act of my life. That choosing myself was not selfishness. It was survival. This house by the sea is not just a refuge. It is a symbol, a daily reminder that I deserve beauty, I deserve peace, I deserve a life that is worth living. And every day I wake up here, every day I see the ocean, every day I breathe this salty, clean air, I am living that life. It's not the life I imagined when I was young. It's not the life I dreamed of when my children were small. But it is my life, completely mine, and it is enough. More than enough. It is everything I need. And if you are reading this, if you are listening to my story, and you see yourself reflected in it, I want you to know something. It is never too late. It is never too late to choose yourself, to set boundaries, to build a life that makes sense for you. No matter your age, no matter how long you have waited, no matter how much you have sacrificed, you too deserve to be seen, valued, and chosen. And if the people in your life cannot give you that, then maybe it's time to find new people, new places, new beginnings, because life is too short to spend it waiting for love from people who will never give it to you. Life is too precious to waste it feeling invisible. So my question to you is this: how much longer are you going to wait? How much longer are you going to accept crumbs when you deserve a feast? How much longer are you going to allow others to define your worth? Because I waited too long, almost my whole life, and when I finally stopped waiting and started living, everything changed. And you can change your life too. Today, now, in this moment. You just have to choose yourself, as I finally chose me. You know, for most of my life, I thought love meant waiting. Waiting for my children to call, to visit, to remember I existed. But one day, I realized love isn't proven by waiting. It's proven by living. The moment I stopped waiting and started choosing myself, everything changed. I found peace, joy, and a new kind of family made of people who truly see me. So if you've ever felt invisible, remember this: you are enough, right now, exactly as you are, and it's never too late to begin again. If you agree with me and enjoyed my story, show it by liking the video. Let's see how many of us are out there. I'm curious, from which city are you listening to me? Write it in the comments. If you'd like to support my journey, you can send a small donation. Thank you for listening and sharing your precious time with me. For more life stories like this, check out the other videos on my channel and subscribe. On the screen, you'll see 2 new stories I'm sure you'll love. Click one and start listening right away. With love.